Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Welcome to the Stone Zone. Today is indeed a historic day, a day that will warm the hearts of Cuban Americans and lovers of freedom everywhere. The United States has issued a federal criminal indictment against former Cuban dictator Raul Castro. That, of course, is the brother of Fidel Castro, showing that the Trump administration's pressure campaign against Cuba's communist government is very real. And, in fact, it's rapidly intensifying. The 94-year-old former president is charged in Miami with conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals, specifically 4 counts of murder and 2 counts of destruction of aircraft. 5 others were also charged, including a fighter pilot tied to the 1996 shootdown of 2 small civilian planes operated by the Miami-based Brothers to the Rescue. Here we have exclusively the audio of Raul Castro ordering the shoot down of the plane. You can bet that piece of evidence will be played in a Miami courtroom. The Miami-based volunteer group made up of Cuban exiles searched the waters between Cuba and Florida for refugees fleeing communist oppression. Then on February 24th, 1996, Cuban MiG fighters, which supplied, of course, by the Russians, fired missiles at the aircraft, killing 4 men. Armando Alejandra Jr., Carlos Costa, Mario de la Pena, and Pablo Morales. Prosecutors allege that Castro authorized the attack. We just played an audio that proves that point. The announcement came today against the symbolic backdrop of Miami's Freedom Tower, where hundreds of thousands of Cuban refugees have been processed after fleeing Fidel Castro's brutal revolution. Castro stepped down as president in 2018. That's Raul Castro, later resigned as the head of Cuba's Communist Party. But he remains a powerful figure within Cuba's politics and government. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, himself of Cuban-American descent, also delivered a message directly to the Cuban people, saying their suffering is not caused by America, but by the corrupt communist rulers who have plundered billions while leaving families without electricity, food, or fuel. Rubio, of course, is absolutely correct. The Monroe Doctrine is leaving no harbor for communism or Marxism in the Western Hemisphere. We will see this scourge ended, and America's enduring legacy of freedom will emanate for generations to come. This story is very close to my own heart because my own wife, Nidia Bertrand de Espinosa's father, Lieutenant Colonel Joaquin Bertrand was the military attaché in the Cuban consulate in Washington, D.C. Although he was a civil servant, when the Batista government fell and Fidel Castro came to power, he was ordered to return to Cuba for debriefings. His bags were packed and he was ready to go. The night before he left, a friendly CIA agent knocked on the door to tell my father-in-law that he should not return to Havana because he was on a list of people to be eliminated. Therefore, he lost everything, his savings, his home, his insurance, essentially all the rudimentaries of his basic life lost forever in Cuba. He also spoke little English, and therefore he employed himself as a fuller brushman. Some of my older listeners will know what that is. A house painter, a printer, and of course the deep and abiding disdain for the Castro regime is deeply embedded in all of my in-laws. So this is a day of justice. It'll be even greater when Raul Castro is ultimately convicted. It is also, I think, evocative of the situation in Venezuela. In other words, Raul Castro may believe that he is safe within the island gulag, but our incredibly capable and stealth military has demonstrated their ability to extract a criminal like Maduro, like Castro, and therefore if I were Raul Castro, I would not sleep well tonight. Meanwhile, President Trump emerged from yesterday's Republican primaries with a stronger claim than ever on the MAGA movement, as Republican voters again rewarded candidates aligned with him and punished those who had crossed him. The clear signal came in Kentucky, where Trump-backed Navy SEAL Ed Galrain defeated longtime Congressman Thomas Massie, one of the party's most visible Trump critics. The race had become a referendum on loyalty to the president, and Massie's loss underscored that even a supposedly conservative voting record cannot save you if you don't have President Trump's backing in the crucial junctures. President Trump's influence also showed in Alabama, where my good friend Senator Tommy Tuberville, Coach Tuberville as we like to call him, a longtime Trump ally, easily won the Republican nomination for governor with more than 85% of the vote. Then in Kentucky's Senate primary, Andy Barr won decisively, while in Georgia, Trump-endorsed Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones advanced to a Republican gubernatorial runoff. The results reinforced a larger reality inside the modern Republican Party. MAGA is no longer just a faction with the GOP. It is the organizing force within the Republican Party. The Republican Party is no longer the party of Wall Street, the party of the country clubs, the party of the financial elites. We are now the party of working class Americans. Candidates are still competing for Trump's endorsement, running on his record, and framing themselves as America First conservatives because Republican primary voters continue to respond to that brand. President Trump claimed a perfect endorsement record from the highest from last night, boasting that 37 of his endorsed candidates out of 37 won yesterday. The political message is unmistakable after Tuesday night. President Trump's grip on the Republican movement is actually tighter than ever. Witness his recent endorsement of Anthony Constantino, running in the 21st district. That's the seat being vacated by Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. That has shaken that race up. New polling that I looked at showed Constantino pulling out to a long lead. So the Republican Party has changed. It is no longer the neocon Bush-dominated party of the country clubs. MAGA is firmly in the saddle heading into these midterm elections. elections. Meanwhile, President Trump's family is getting some protection from lawfare. The Justice Department has reportedly granted President Trump, his family, and his businesses protection from ongoing tax inquiries, ending pending claims tied to audits and potential prosecutions. The provision was added as part of a broader settlement connected to Trump's $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS over the leak of his tax returns during his first term. Now, every American citizen is entitled to the confidentiality of their tax returns, unless your name is Donald Trump. Trump, two of his sons, and the Trump family business sued after a former IRS contractor disclosed private tax information regarding the Trumps, including their tax filings, to the New York Times and a outfit called ProPublica. Under the new one-page addendum signed by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, the federal government would be barred from pursuing pending tax claims against Trump, his relatives, and his affiliated businesses. Democrats particularly are accusing the Justice Department of acting in Trump's personal interests, but their analysis misses the forest for the trees. A sitting American president and his family had their confidential tax returns leaked, weaponized, and splashed across the media as part of a deliberate campaign to undermine them. After years of investigations, audits, lawsuits, and political targeting, nothing could stick despite billions of dollars of resources being spent in an effort to destroy Donald Trump and his candidacy. The administration is now moving to settle the matter and close the books. Federal agencies must never be used as political weapons like they clearly have been against President Trump, General Michael Flynn, and myself, among others. Accountability should not only be to taxpayers, but also to the bureaucrats who abuse their governmental power. Meanwhile, the FBI posted the lowest violent crime statistics in nearly 100 years. U.S. violent crime fell sharply in 2025. Remember, Donald Trump promised to be the law and order candidate, and indeed he is, with FBI nationwide data showing the largest decrease in violent crime and murders since 1937. According to the FBI's preliminary uniform crime reporting data, violent crime dropped about 9.3% nationwide. Murder and non-negligent manslaughter fell by more than 18%. Robbery dropped by 18.5%. Rape declined nearly 8%. And aggravated assault was down by more than 7%. Property crimes also moved in the right direction, falling roughly 12.4% from the previous year. This data, collected from more than 17,000 law enforcement agencies, covers about 96% of policing across the country, points to a major public safety turnaround. My good friend, FBI Director Kash Patel, said the numbers show huge decreases across the board and credited major changes at the Bureau over the last 14 months. This makes it clear that law and order is the word of the day. Compared to 2024, the country saw about 1.1 million fewer violent crimes and roughly 5.2 million fewer property crimes under President Donald Trump. Law enforcement also cleared more than 400,000 violent crimes with arrests, along with 868,000 property crimes. The drop in crime is a powerful reminder that Democrats deliberately empower criminals as a way to destabilize our society. You're listening to the Stone Zone. Don't go away, because we'll be right back.